Okay, we've been talking about virtue and happiness and rationality, and that happiness is an activity in the soul in accordance with reason or virtue, or arete or logos. And I want to look at, this is book 2, the first couple sections, 1 through 6, some characteristics of moral virtue. Moral virtue for Aristotle, or ethike, is a combination of reason and emotion. And reason, reason has to do with our essential nature. And our essential nature has to do with, or living a happy life has to do with rationality regulating our emotions. And that's done primarily in and through what Aristotle calls moral virtue. When someone does effectively regulate their emotions, they are morally virtuous. Okay? And there are 4 things about moral virtue that Aristotle says. 4 things that I find, at least. These 4 things are habit. Moral virtue is a habit. 2, it's context specific. 3, it's a mean between extremes, or an excess and deficiency. It's a mean or middle position. And 4, it concerns pleasure and pain. Okay, let's go through each of those. Moral virtue is primarily a habit. That is, someone is virtuous when they have good habits, okay? And we're habitual creatures by nature. We're constantly inculcating and creating in ourselves habits. Every choice we make is of the utmost importance, and that's why our lives have such urgency to them, and our reflection on this is so urgent, because we're constantly forming habits and therefore etching and creating our soul. Think of the soul like a wet mold of clay that as you get older and older and older, it starts to ossify and solidify. And when you're younger, it's very easy to change your soul or your emotions and pull them different ways. You can act, the soul in a certain sense is your emotional life, which we have the ability to shape for Aristotle. And so moral virtue is that shaping, and moral virtue is a habit. That is, it's a habit inculcated in the soul through repetition. And this is very important for Aristotle. One becomes virtuous by simply acting virtuously. You become good by acting good. You become a liar by telling lies. You become bad by acting bad. You become happy by acting happy. In other words, you fake it till you make it, for Aristotle. You fake it till you make it. You act a certain way. What you do changes who you are. What you do affects who you are, or what you do externally affects your internal world. So you can actually change your emotional life through external actions for Aristotle. Okay? A simple example of this is, there's some research on this too, that simply by smiling, your body has a feedback loop where it thinks you're happy, and you feel better by simply smiling. You don't have to feel good. You can be feeling pretty lousy, and you just go, and then you feel better. It's very strange, but try it. I make my class do this, and everybody, you'd be surprised. People just won't do it. It's just very hard. But if you can actually take that step and smile, you feel better. It's very strange. And the same thing if you don't like somebody. C.S. Lewis talks about this in Mere Christianity. If you don't like somebody and then you just decide to treat them kindly, eventually you'll find yourself starting to like them. So Aristotle thinks we become what we do. We are our choices. We can affect our emotional life simply by what we do. There's a famous TED Talk called Fake It Till You Make It, or Fake It Till You Become It, by Amy Cuddy, and she talks a little bit about this, that if you do power poses where you stand like this or like this, your body actually, the testosterone and your confidence in your body and your cortisol levels go down, testosterone goes up, and you start to feel more confident. And in other words, and I don't know whether the research was repeatable or not. I think it wasn't, but then it was, and it doesn't matter. The point is that there's some evidence that what we do externally affects who we are internally. And this is really important for Aristotle, that moral virtue is a habit, or habits inculcated in the soul through consistent repetition. And if you're not feeling it, you fake it, and eventually you feel it. This is such an important principle for Aristotle. And just in life in general, that we have much more control over our emotional life than we think. You can actually act a certain way, and want to act that way for the right reasons and end up feeling it. Now, it's not the same as faking something with deceitful intent. For example, you think of someone who's like a used car salesman, or somebody who's trying to get one over on you and sell you something and take advantage of you and manipulate you and be kind and friendly in that manner. That won't work. You have to want to be good. You have to have the right aim in mind, and you have to act that way. And eventually, you will internalize it in your emotions, and reason will discipline the emotions. Okay? So the first point of 4 is that moral virtue is a habit that we develop in our soul through repetition. And we fake it till we make it. The outer affects the inner, and that's why every choice we make is so important, because every choice we make, we're inculcating habits in ourselves. Okay? And in the next video, I'll talk about the next 3.